All right. Well, thank you everybody that's joining us live during this webinar, and hello to anybody that's going to be watching us after hours or after they get home from work or on their own time. I'm Matt Willinger. I'm Executive Director of Operations here at the Louisville Alumni Office, joined by Marianne Vetter, our Senior Director of Engagement. And today's webinar is based on marketing madness, ways to help market your chapter, your council, ways to help tips and tricks for marketing, for communicating effectively, and for helping spread the word. And since it's March in Louisville, all things kind of turn to basketball and March Madness. And so we're starting things off well because UK lost last night to Tennessee, and now we're here talking with you today. And so the way we broke things down was kind of according to regions. You know, Selection Sunday is only 2 weeks away, almost less than 2 weeks away. And so, of course, they break everything down according to various regions. And that's what we've done here. We have an event planning region where we'll go over some tips and tricks. We have a social media region. We have a brand ambassador region. And then we just have some general tips as well. And then we'll close it kind of with our final 4 takeaways and some other key dates.
And just so anyone knows that may not have heard our pre-conversation, we are sitting here today appropriately in Coach Denny Crum's office. So you can see some of the nice things behind us, some of Denny's fish. Matt has been naming them. But just we thought this would be a fun setting to bring you a little bit of campus, no matter what part of the country you're in today, get a little bit of campus to you. And a little bit of fun for March here in Coach Crum's office. We're lucky enough to share this space with him and see him every now and then. So sharing that with you as well.
And happy birthday to Coach Crum, who had a birthday on Monday.
Yeah. So lots of fun here this week. Once we get through our 4 regions, we'll have our Sweet 16 tips. So we're going to keep that theme going with you all day. Our Sweet 16 tips for chapter and council volunteer leaders to help you with your events, with your communication, with your social media, all those kinds of things. So before we dive into the region, every bracket has a bubble. So I had this one tip that I wanted to give that I'm going to call it my bubble tip. It just would not fit in any of the regions real specifically. So my bubble tip for everyone is that mistakes happen. We're all human. So when we make a mistake, all we need to do is apologize, correct it, and move on. So I hope you give us that grace as your alumni office contacts. We certainly appreciate all of our volunteers and give you that grace. We just want to be able to, accept that we're human and make mistakes and move on. So that's our bubble tip for today. Matt, you want to get us into our first region?
Yeah, so the first region will be the event planning region. I know that's one that's very near and dear to a lot of you guys as game watches are coming on, and of course Derby's not too far out, and so there will be some events coming up, and so I guess the most important takeaway is the save the date. So once you and your group have decided on a date and an event, please go ahead and let us know when you know, and that way we can start supporting you in the best manner possible. So obviously we want to be there to help communicate for you, to help with any ideas you might have, to help make any type of reservations that we can, anything really to help make your all's job easier. We are very mindful of the time and the commitment left, and so we want to be mindful of your time as well. We don't want to create extra work for you, so the easiest way to kind of avoid all of that and avoid any confusion or miscommunication is just to let us know when you know. So as soon as the date is set, even if it's super informal and you don't have a lot of details, please reach out to Marianne or to Nakia or to myself or to Amanda or to, if it's an event where you need to involve Maureen or Kelsey, please reach out to us. If you don't know where to start, you can always start with me. All my contact info is right on the website, cell phone number, email, and reach out to me and I can direct you to the right person. But our one seed there would be save the dates out.
Absolutely. And Matt mentions Nakia. I should have mentioned that a little earlier. Nakia's in the room with us today, helping us manage things from a logistical standpoint and checking in on your questions. So we'll be sure to check in with her and make our call to the bench here when we need a question from the audience. So our 2 seed in this region is going to piggyback on what Matt jamming out. All right. we play a little One Shining Moment, maybe a little CBS theme, get us in there. Yeah. So our 2 seed in this region is a little bit of what Matt said, and that's let us know. Let us know as soon as you know you have that date locked in. We in the past, some of our turnaround time on event planning and communication has been a little slower. However, Nakia, myself, a lot more of our staff have been trained on the event building process, so we can turn those things around a little bit faster for you. Some of you are really great about letting us know 2-3 months in advance. Jerry Hunter, I'm looking at you. If you signed in there, thank you for always letting us know well in advance. But even if it's, within a week and you decide you want to do a game watch on Saturday, it's going to be a big game, or March Madness is coming up and you want to do something for that, or even something has come up and you just, within a week or 10 days want to try to get some people together, let us know. We're happy to put an event together. A lot of times we can put it together within 24 hours and at least get you a link that you can share out on an email or social media. So let us know as soon as you know. We'll get things turned around as quickly as we can. And just a little side note on this too, for those of you who don't know, we do have an engagement intern right now, so we'll keep that going. And in the fall, we'll have them trained on event building, so we'll be able to turn things around really quickly for them. So,
yeah.
Matt, you want to jump into the 3 seed?
Yeah, the 3 would just be keep an eye out for community events. I know that March is an easy time for game watches, and there's lots of activity around March Madness and the U of L men's and women's teams. But then as you approach some of the summer months, I know that those opportunities can become more fewer and far between, and some of those engagement opportunities dry up. So I'd say be mindful of what's happening in the community. If there's a community event, if there's a community initiative that you can plan an event around, that you can plan an outing around, that you can plan a community service opportunity around, please look for ways to collaborate in that, because not every gathering needs to be completely unique to U of L in terms of being completely original. I know lots of people are just craving opportunities to get together, to mix and mingle with each other, and there's lots of events going on within your community where U of L alumni could play a role.
Absolutely. No need to reinvent the wheel, right?
That's exactly right.
Yes. So as we move into our 4 seed in the event planning region is going to be to brand your events. We are trying to bring a little piece of campus to wherever you are, whether it be here in the Louisville community or out in one of our chapters out in the country. Brand your events. Use reusable decorations. We can help you with some of those things using your chapter allotment, banners, pom-poms, baskets, anything like little table signage, anything like that that can put a little red and black out there. Use those and make them reusable so that you're saving your chapter some money in the long run too. I'm going to throw in here reusable locations too. I know that's a little bit of a stretch, but if you can find a home base for your events, have somewhere that kind of becomes the U of L restaurant bar where you're doing your game watches, that is always consistent. There's always going to be a couple of people there watching games. You can also often build a relationship with those folks. I know that some of our chapters have a location that will do some kickbacks to your chapter, so it can be a fundraising effort as well. It can help you put a little bit more money into your operating accounts. One of our groups has a a new relationship where they're getting 10% of the food that they sell at their events, along with $1 off of every domestic bottle of beer that they sell. So that's a little bit of a fundraising effort for them. And once you build that really great relationship, maybe they'll let us hang a flag or something else that we can help brand those events there for you. So.
Exactly.
So that rounds out our event planning region. We ready to move on to the next?
Yeah, moving on to the next region. We're going to devote our next 4 seats to social media. And my 1 seat is one that seems pretty basic, but one that's also needs of a constant reminder. And that's just to remind everybody to make consistent posts when you're out there on social media. Make sure that your pinned posts at the tops are current and have relevant information. Make sure that your contact information is updated. That's always an important one. If people have questions or don't know how to get a hold of you, that's an issue. So make sure that the group contact information is correct. If you need to, set reminders to post. And also, going back to not recreating the wheel, feel free to incorporate a lot of the content that U of L alumni and U of L itself sends out. So I know that our social media is very active. Feel free to share, to retweet that. We send out the FYI twice a month. We send out a number of different newsletters and official communications, and there's always good stuff in there. If you see something in there that's relevant to your group, feel free to cut and paste it. But the takeaway here is to consistently be posting relevant information.
Absolutely. Our 2 seed in the social media region is going to be that social media is visual. You're a lot more likely to get folks to not keep on scrolling and maybe stop and take a look if you have an interesting photo or video to share with them. I think we do a really great job of this, particularly on the front end of promoting our events, but sometimes we may not always do that on the back end. So take photos at your events and make sure you're posting those on the back end, and showing how fun it is to be a member of a U of L alumni chapter or council, and look at all the people that are coming out and networking, and kind of try to build that momentum from event to event by posting some post-event photos as well. Right. Throwback photos are always fun, especially as we get into March, and maybe I know that Bill has talked to us out in Denver about the last time that the team was out in the Denver area. They had a lot of people come out, so there could be some good throwback photo opportunities there to just try to build some excitement around this time of year. Be creative. Social media is a great place for creativity. Sometimes a little wit and teasing is appreciated there as well. One thing that we do want to encourage is try not to be a link farm where you're just sharing out links. The original content is good. If we can help you with that, let us know that too. And of course, as always, use our hashtags U of L alum, and tag us at U of L alumni too.
Exactly. Just like all things in March when it comes to college basketball, timing matters. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about putting your posts up. I know on Facebook you can schedule posts. I know that there are tools on Instagram where you can schedule posts as well. Post when people are most active on social media to draw the most traffic to your page and get the most information out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sounds simple, but it's something a lot of people don't think about.
Timing matters. Absolutely. So our 4 seed in the social media, got a little lighting issue in here, a little, spotlights. So our 4 seed here in the social media region is to do some member spotlights. We have a lot of wonderful alums out there doing great work professionally, personally, good work in their community, good work in their professions, using that U of L degree. So highlight those when you have an opportunity. We do some alumni spotlights officially here through the magazine. But if that is relevant to your area, if you want to retweet or share that, or if there's someone in your area that you think just deserves a little kudos, it's a great way to pat someone on the back that's living in your area or part of your council that deserves that.
Right.
But it also, in addition to highlighting accomplishments, it also helps bring attraction to students. I know some of you have helped us with some admissions events coming up, some that have just happened, and some admission events that are coming up. So it can help us attract our future U of L alumni. If they see alumni out there doing great things with their degrees and really making them work for them, then it's going to be a more attractive institution for our potential students to come into. So help share the word, and we'll help build your future alumni base by using your current alumni base.
And the last thing I want to say as it relates to social media is I know some of this can be intimidating, especially if you're not very fluent in the social media world. So if you ever get to a spot where you need help, where you feel like you need support, where you need assistance, whether it's you need ideas and brainstorming of I just don't know what to post, or whether or not you need some creative help, please reach out to me directly, reach out to Marianne, reach out to Nakia. We do have the resources, and we can build some support around you. We have a communications team that's very good at social media, and so we'd be happy to work with you to come up with some ideas or to further enhance some of these tips and tricks that we're going over today.
Absolutely. And if you've got somebody that you think we need to be putting in that alumni spotlight category, let us know that too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We can all build that for you and make sure it's featured out, not just for your council or chapter, but also to the rest of our alumni base as well. So I'm going to help us dive into our third region. Our third region is being a good brand ambassador. Of course, all of us working here officially during this, excuse me, as our job day today, know that we are brand ambassadors, but you are too. You are a brand ambassador for the University of Louisville, and we want to just talk a little bit about that. So some tips to help you be a better brand ambassador is to reach out on social media and follow groups that are similar to the group that you're involved in. So there may be, particularly our chapters, there may be other ACC schools in your areas that have alumni chapters that you can do events with. I know I was talking with Kelly in Philadelphia yesterday, and they do this fun event every year. Have you heard about this? No?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. They do this fun event with other ACC schools every fall, and they call it Drinking with the Enemy. So it's a lot of fun with them just to kind of kick off the fall, kick off the school year. There's also, from our council side, there could be other groups out there, whether it's ACC schools or not, but this one happens to be. So maybe our African American Alumni Council might have interest in looking at NC State and what their Black Alumni Society is doing. They're doing some great work there at NC State. So it could be good networking opportunities. There could be some ideas that you're inspiring there, or maybe you're doing some great things and maybe they'll piggyback off of some of the things you're doing as well. So try to reach out and find those other groups. If you need help finding them or interested in that and we can help in any way, that's the common theme today, let us know. We'll be happy to help.
Yeah, keeping it there with the brand ambassador region, the 2 seed there would be another one that's pretty basic, but never hurts to remind people, is just to be professional. Keep in mind that when you're out and about and you're wearing your U of L gear, when you're posting on U of L pages, when you're running your own U of L page, that by extension, you are a representative of the University of Louisville. And so keep all that in mind. Be polite to others. You never know who's gonna be watching. You never know who's gonna come across that on social media. Of course, we always want to have our best foot forward and represent all of our alumni across the world. And whether or not we're at a bar, we never want to be that group that's the that's the mean group or the obnoxious group. And the same way on social media. So just keep those parameters in mind and be mindful of your own personal accounts as well.
Absolutely. We know you're all are good people out there, and the heat of March sometimes gets to all of us, though.
That's right. I've implemented a 24-hour rule after U of L basketball loses to post anything, so that way I don't put my foot in my mouth and say something online that maybe I shouldn't about the other team or the other coach or the officials.
That's fair. You've actually given me a good piece of advice to put it through a Neely filter. If I wouldn't want Neely to see that, then I don't put it up there.
That's right.
I like my Neely filter.
As soon as I saw that Dr. Bendabuti followed me on Twitter, I thought, okay, I need to be mindful of everything I put out there. Make sure I know who's watching.
Absolutely. So moving on in our brand ambassador region, our next tip is to provide a name when you're sending out an email. So a lot of folks, we say this all the time, we're in the relationship building business. That's what we do. So they want to be able to have that personal connection. I've noticed even when I do post on my personal account from a social media side, I do get interaction from some of our alumni volunteers out there, some of the alums I've met out on the road. And it's that personal connection. They like to have somebody there that they can follow and be in touch with that can provide that, alma mater connection. So signing your emails with your name can be a way to do that. Maybe even your affiliation to U of L, what year you graduated. We put that out on our pages on the alumni website as well. Something that helps people connect to you as an individual is good. Putting your chapter and council names in the subject of emails can help with getting open rates. So making sure that people know that this isn't spam or something coming through that's, going out to everybody. This looks like more of a personal invitation and providing that personal connection. So, and another thing when you're sending out your emails, include your social links at the bottom so that people can go out and find us on social media if they're kind of new. Want to always keep in mind that new people are joining all the time. And while some of the folks who've been around for 10, 15, 20 years may know you and may know how to find everything, graduating new alums all the time, and we're always wanting to attract them in. So trying to always keep that new alum in mind with that too.
And then finally, for my last one, and I feel like all of these are so simple and basic, but they're all so important, is thank yous. Thank yous go a long way, especially as Marianne was saying, we're in the relationship building business. We're looking to network and grow our chapters, to grow our councils. And so I feel like it's a great follow-up. It's a great way to make one more connection, to maybe preview another upcoming event, but follow up after events with a thank you. It's simple, but I know that every time I get one, it always goes a long way, and you usually remember it too.
Absolutely. Thank yous are huge, and definitely help you build for that future fan base and help people feel appreciated and welcome.
So if you're following, and this is in terms of the bracket, we've now jumped over and we're in the final pod of our bracket. Yes. So we're going to do the final region that we're calling general tips. And then from there, we'll roll into our final four. And then we've got some last little updates and some event reminders coming up for you. So for general tips, monitor your accounts, whether it be group email accounts, messenger and comments on Facebooks. If you see a negative comment on a Twitter of yours, on a Facebook post, and you don't know how to respond, please reach out to myself or any of our team members. We'll be glad to give you some counsel on what are some best practices on how to respond to that. But it's always it's always troublesome if you see a Facebook page or a Twitter that has a negative comment or maybe a complaint, or someone's asked a question and there's no follow-up or no response there. So please be mindful of that social media is meant to be more of a dialogue and more of an exchange of back and forth, and not just pushing information out, but also please be mindful to be responsive of all that stuff too.
Absolutely. And it can be hard. We don't want to get in the filtering business and filtering people off of our accounts or anything like that. But at the same time, we've mentioned this before, what's out there is a reflection of us, of you, of the university, of its students. And we want to make sure that we're keeping an eye out for that as well. So our next tip, our number 2 seed, and our general tips is make sure you're gathering contact information at your events. That's another way to help build for the future. It can kind of seem like you don't need to if you've got the same faces showing up, but you never know when somebody new might come out. So make sure you're gathering that contact information, inviting them to join your online groups, asking if you can have their email to send them emails about upcoming events, things like that. So make sure you're doing that. Helps with the follow-ups and thank yous that we were just mentioning, and build your base for that future.
For my third one, it's one that March is all about teamwork. You'll hear it from Coach Walls. You'll hear it from Coach Mack. You can't get very far in March unless you're playing as a team. I'd say the same thing applies to our office, our councils, all of our groups and chapters. You don't need to go at it alone. Nobody should feel like they're on an island or that they have to do all the work for their group. Please divide and conquer. We feel like the healthiest groups, our healthiest ones, are the ones where the responsibilities are spread out among several people, where one person doesn't feel inundated to do everything. We'd encourage people, maybe if your group has the bandwidth, you can have a social media director, a director of game day events. Look to delegate some of these responsibilities so one person doesn't feel the onus to do everything, carry that load, because what we don't want is we care so much about all of our people that are engaged. We don't want anybody to burn out or to feel like they aren't being appreciated. So please look to divide and conquer. Look around at the people that you can give some responsibilities to, and approach it as a team mentality.
Absolutely. And, on that note, I know a lot of our groups are looking for additional leadership. You're always wanting to recruit new folks. So I know we've got a lot of that to work through over the next few months. And I'm always happy to try to do that for you. But I'm going to go back to my bubble, and maybe in the mistake world, maybe not so much mistakes, but in the grace world for sure, give me grace to work through it. We're coming. We want to help you. We want to recruit some folks to help you out too. So if you want to nudge me and let me know that you could really use some help, by all means, please reach out and do that as well. So, our last tip, our last 4 seed in the general tips area is engagement is what we do. It's in my title. But engagement is what we do. Nakia, Amanda, and myself are on the engagement team, and everything we do ties back to our love of U of L. We are trying to bring a little piece, no matter if you're down the street, if you're in LA, if you're in New York, wherever you are, we're trying to bring a little piece of the campus and a little piece of that U of L love, that home that was on campus, to you. So we want to provide that connection to all of our friends and family and fans out there, back to the alma mater, back for alumni, back to the alma mater, no matter where you are. If you see ideas, I know a lot of you have degrees from other universities. If you see things from other groups that are working or that you really appreciate, by all means, let us know. We're always looking for new ideas. We don't steal them, we borrow them, and we redo them in our own way. So is this stealing a playbook? I'm not sure. But that's our last tip, is we're open to ideas, and engagement is what we do. So I think it's time to do our final 4.
We'll try to recap. So we've gone over the top 16 seeds of engagement best practices, and now we'll kind of distill everything down to the final 4. So if you're just joining us, or if you only take away a couple things from today's webinar, please remember these final 4 tips. When it comes to event planning, please brand your events. If you need some help in branding your events or ideas on ways to do that, again, reach out to our team. We'll be happy to get on a call with you and exchange some ideas and bring some support around that. When it comes to social media, please remember that consistency is key. Be regular in your postings. Make sure your contact information is up to date, and make sure to monitor comments so we can be reactive as well. When it comes to being a brand ambassador for Louisville, Thank yous go a long way. Follow-up is always very important. Let people know you enjoyed having their presence at your event or at your game watch. Thank them and invite them to the next one. I'm telling you, it always goes a long way for people. And then when it comes to for just general tips, gather contact info. That's probably one of the most important things, because our team can't contact you if we don't have the correct contact info. And we see it a lot in our office. People the further they get away from the university, the more addresses change, the more phone numbers change, and then it can be harder to track you down and let you know about all the great offerings and services that are going on within Louisville Alumni. So those will be my final four takeaways from our Marketing Madness.
Absolutely. And I've got one more to throw out there. I'm calling it my Hail Mary. And my Hail Mary is to make Marianne an admin. Maybe that's a little too cheesy. But if you've got a Facebook group out there, if you've got a Gmail that you're using, that's a group Gmail, not your personal email, that's your contact. If you can share that information with us, we would really appreciate it. Make myself an admin on your Facebook page. Make Matt Willinger, Matt Cable, I know, likes to be an admin. And share those Gmail accounts and passwords with us. And the reason behind this is if you win the lottery tomorrow and you forget all about us and you go move to Greece and you survive coronavirus and you leave, then we want to be able to make sure that those things that have been branding and those things that you've been building, that they can live on. So that we can, if we have someone who, for instance, recently we had an alum whose husband got a job and they had to move cities. So they're turning over their contact information to us so that when we find someone new to run that chapter, we've got some infrastructure that's already built that we can turn over to that new person, so it's a little easier on them. So that's my Hail Mary. If you have that out there and you're comfortable sharing that with me, I would love to have that and track it so that our office can be involved in that as well. So.
All right. Well, we can't say goodbye without talking a little bit about college basketball. The whole theme is Marketing Madness. March Madness is upon us. To give you guys an update, two of our team members, Maureen Johnson, our Senior Director of Events, and Josh Hawkins will be actually leaving tomorrow to head to Greensboro, where they will be through the women's tournament that starts later this week, and then they will be in Greensboro through the men's tournament. So they're going for almost what's a 2-week stretch. Hopefully they come back with some hardware with
nice.
2 ACC championships. Yeah. But and then I think depending on how the men and the women do it at the ACC tournament will largely dictate what their ultimate seeding will be for the NCAA tournament. The women look to be in great shape. I think the latest bracketology had them as a 2 seed, which would be awesome because that would mean that their first couple games would be right here in the friendly confines of the KFC Yum Center, and hopefully we could build a big crowd around there. And if the seedings work out, then they'd be at a drivable game from Louisville, because then they'd go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, which we've already started having some initial discussions about what our footprint might look like if the women do get sent to Fort Wayne, because it's only about 4.5 hours from Louisville. Very drivable for fans that want to be able to attend. And then, of course, the women's Final Four is in New Orleans, which they've had some success down there in the not too distant past with being in the national runner-up in 2013. So on the men's side, things continue to be fluid. It looks like if they can win against Virginia on Saturday, they'll probably be locked in as the 2 seed in the ACC tournament. If that happens, they will play at 7 o'clock next Thursday night. They would probably have to get through a run that would include Duke and then Florida State to win the ACC tournament in back-to-back nights. So they'd certainly have their hands full, but definitely something that's possible and would be an exciting run of basketball if you're talking about playing maybe Duke on Friday and then Florida State on Saturday, back-to-back games. And then,
was it Denny Crum that used to say it's hard to beat the same team 3 times in a year?
Exactly.
So let's hope that Florida State game happens. That holds true.
Or I'd be fine with Florida State losing before
That's okay
they got
too.
there,
That's
too.
all right,
and
too.
We don't have to play them. That would work for me. We popped on the bracketology just around lunchtime today. It looks like the cards, depending on which site you visit, are on the high end of 2 and on the low end of 4. They'll probably be slotted. I think they should be a 2, which means they'll probably be slotted as a 3. But then again, that depends on what happens.
That loss last night might help a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say that they are in competition with Kentucky for a possible 2 or 3 seeds. So Kentucky losing to Tennessee may in fact help Louisville if Louisville can win at Virginia, which they haven't had a ton of success. And
make a little run in the tournament.
Virginia's
too.
one of the hottest teams right now, and you're playing them on their senior night. So Cards definitely have a tall order this Saturday, but they handled Virginia pretty well when Virginia came through Louisville. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And from the perspective of our councils and chapters, we want to make sure we know or we communicate the role that we hope that you'll be able to play for us as March Madness moves on. If you're in town here, our council folks and even some of our chapters that may be within driving distance, if you're coming in for any of the women's games down at the Yum Center, or if you're going to be in town and just want a good spot to watch, O'Shea's downtown near the Yum Center, not the one on Bardstown Road, is going to be our in-town headquarters. So
That's right.
We're working with them. Kelsey on our team, who I think might be watching. Hi, Kelsey. Kelsey's working with them on some possibility of some specials maybe. But they're going to be our headquarters and our gathering place to cheer on the women. Depending on game times, we may have some send-offs or things like that. So those things obviously need to be hashed out as timings come out and brackets come out. But make sure you keep an eye on our events page for that kind of information. We'd love to have anyone join us. And our women have just been so impressive this year. They've been so much fun to watch. We'd love to have you guys down there to help cheer them on too. On the men's side, obviously there's a lot of different places we could be. We're currently looking at St. Louis probably, but it could be Tampa, it could be Greensboro in the first and second rounds. When it comes to the regionals, it could be New York or Houston or LA or Indy. So we're going to be looking to our chapters to help us be boots on the ground. You know, we'll do the event planning side of things, but we would love for, if we end up in Tampa, if, our alums in Tampa, if we could send you a little box of goodies and you could kind of activate on site for us there. So be looking for us to reach out on that as well. So anything else on bracketology you want to throw out there?
I think that's all as it relates to bracketology. Okay. As Marianne was saying, a lot of what our footprint will look like, a lot of what our activities will look like will depend on which geographic region of the country we get sent to. But please, we will communicate all of that through our social media and through our email is once all of those details are kind of set after Selection Sunday, next Sunday. In the meantime, we've got some upcoming events.
Real quick before we do that, I wanted to call in our bench and see if, Nikia, do you have any questions that have come through on any of the things we talked about?
So we haven't had any questions per se come through, but I know that Wilson did double check the Cincinnati alumni chapter, and you are listed as an admin.
Right.
As he said, he wanted to make sure.
Thanks, Wilson.
And so that has really been our comments. I haven't had any questions just yet, but I did let everyone know that if they have questions, feel free to ask in the chat, and you all will be happy to answer them.
Absolutely. Perfect. Absolutely. So before we jump into upcoming events, I don't think you can end any March Madness or any bracket talk without one shining moment, right? That's how you cap every March. So my one shining moment that I want to share with all of you guys is that we are here for you always. For us, this is more than a job. I love my job. I'm celebrating 1 year today on the job, and so excited about that and excited to be here for many years to come. So we have a great team here in the alumni office. We all love U of L. We really love our alumni, obviously, but we are always here for you. So that is my one shining moment.
That's right. So we're here to serve you guys, and that's why we're here every day. So if you have any questions, if you have any issues that you want to discuss, please reach out to all of us. We all take pride in being very accessible through a number of different mediums. So please reach out if you ever have anything on your mind. We're here for you. Go running down these upcoming events, and then we will let everybody move on. We've got, as we talked about, we've got the women's ACC tournament. It's actually starting today. Our team won't be playing until later in the week, but that's in Greensboro, North Carolina. Josh and Maureen will be there, and then we'll be there through next week for the men's as well. It just happened to work out that both were in Greensboro, so logistically that was a big help. Of course, we've got the men's and women's NCAA tournament coming, and then right after that, it'll be here before you know it. We've got Kentucky Derby Day coming on May 2nd, and then 1 week after Derby is spring commencement, which will be at the KFC Yum Center. And if you're going to be in Louisville at that time, there are engagement and volunteer opportunities. If you're interested in helping with commencement, please reach out to Marianne or myself, and we'll be glad to plug in and let you know what kind of role you might be able to play.
So I do have a quick question from Susan. She says that Final Four is in Atlanta. If we make it that far, will we have a presence during pre-tournament events?
I would say yes. I mean, we're very excited. I can tell you internally, we're very excited just that the Final Fours are being held in Atlanta and New Orleans, because in 2013 they were both held there, and the Cards were able to have a lot of success. So yes, if Louisville, we've been hesitant because we don't want to jinx anything, but to look too far ahead. But if the men were to make it to Atlanta, we would definitely have some type of activity. It would likely be something similar to what you saw back in December with the Music City Bowl. It would probably be something in conjunction with the president's office and athletics as well. So it would be one big event, and probably a headquarters in Atlanta that would be a central gathering spot for Cards fans, and then whatever type of engagement activities come around that. Usually we try to feature a service project as well, and some other activities leading up to the games that week. So I would say cheer on the Cards every step of the way, and if it looks like we're going to get to Atlanta, we will be the first ones down there, and we will roll out all the details and information. And of course, we would invite and welcome everybody to join us in Atlanta and make a big deal of it.
Absolutely. You've got two really big sports fans here that don't want to think too far ahead and jinx things.
Exactly.
So,
But I love the commonality of
yes.
New Orleans and Atlanta. They've been good to the
Yes,
Cards of the
they have
past.
been. Absolutely. For a lot of different sporting events, really. If you think about New Orleans, we've been down there quite a bit.
Right.
So, I've got a couple other reminders I want to throw out. I'm calling them my buzzer beaters. I maybe took this theme a little too far, but I do love this time of year. Matt mentioned commencement is coming up. We'd love to have you volunteer. One good idea we had from our last webinar, either our last webinar or last board meeting, one or the other, was to have some alumni set up at commencement to help families take photos near the banners, the school banners that are always set up. So if you're interested in coming and being a part of that, we would love to have you do that. If you're interested, if you haven't been to commencement in a while, it's really fun to be there. I think it kind of, I hadn't been in a while, and it kind of renews your excitement around your alma mater. It's been a lot of fun. So we're also looking at, I know some of you were able to join us last fall as we did a thank you event over at the ACC studio here on campus. We're looking at doing another thank you event in the spring, potentially tied around commencement weekend. So we don't have a whole lot of details, but maybe we'll throw out a tentatively save the date on May 8th, but we'll work on that, and we'll absolutely get you some more details on that. We want to thank you as much as we've stressed that today. We want to make sure we always thank our council and chapter volunteers for the great work that they do. Derby's coming up, so if you have some Derby parties that you're planning, make sure you let us know. I mentioned interns earlier. Vanessa, who's our spring intern, will be working on those for us. We'll be reaching out to some of you to do Soar into Your City events, which is what we're tentatively calling our events to welcome alumni to new cities as they are dispersing after May commencement. So we'll be reaching out to some of you about that. If you have a home location for March Madness or game launches, let us know that so we can make sure we get it up on our website, and anybody who may be traveling can maybe stop by and see you. And finally, if you have ideas for future webinars, please let us know that. We want to make sure that the information we're putting out there is useful and informative to you and things that you're interested in hearing about.
So I do have one question
Sure.
from Wilson in regards to the annual chapter and council awards. So is there any thing you all can share regarding the due date, or anything regarding when those submissions will be, needed to be sent in, or when nominations will be open for the council and chapter annual awards?
Absolutely. So that is something that we have been talking about internally. Nikki and I have talked about that. We have some ideas in our head that we're still kind of working out, and we don't have due dates as of yet, but those awards are not going away. I know with ALC being not held this year, that's probably some concern, but those awards are still going to happen. They might just look a little different, and their timing might be a little different. So please stay tuned on that. Still happening, and as soon as we have more information to share, we will absolutely do that. Thank you for the question. That's a good question. We probably do owe an update on that soon. Any other questions coming in?
That is it.
Okay. You have anything else you want to add?
Go Cards.
Yeah, go Cards.
Thank you everybody for joining us today. And like we've said a million times, if you have any questions, if you have any areas of concerns or anything you need to discuss, our entire team is available. Please reach out. And until next time, go Cards, and we hope to see everybody in Atlanta.
Yeah, leave them with an L.